Watch.
No, look at him.
Good boy. He is like in the mood to work right now, which is
Good.
great because it's been so hot. Mark. Oh, you get paid for that anyway. Yeah, I know you tried. I know you're so pretty. Mark, you just sit instead? You can get paid. Mark. No? Good. All right, so are we live?
We are indeed live. I just announced it.
Ho ho. Okay. Um, well, hello everybody. My name's Shauna. I am the executive director here at the Big Bad Project. This is Tiberius, one of our wonderful ambassadors here. You're just gonna get everything because I love you. Yeah. So it has been super hot the last few days. So we haven't been, or they haven't been super active in their work. It is pretty nice today. So he is in the mood to work and do some cool stuff. I don't think you guys can see her, but behind us in their other area, Wyatt is very happy laying in the grass, laying in the shade. So I'm gonna just take a seat and we're gonna get started. Can I sit there, please? I want to sit here. He's like, but how am I gonna get treats?
Yeah,
I
like
know, but
he can't put his paws up in pose.
yeah, but he's gonna sit and get butt sketches instead. Huh, bud?
God, it's a lovely day out today.
It is beautiful. It really is. So, for those of you who are new, Conservation Conversations is a time where we get to talk about all kinds of things in conservation surrounding biodiversity. In today's topic, we are talking about wildlife corridors. So, for those of you who are not familiar with wildlife corridors, they are basically, they could be a land bridge or a passageway or under an overpass or something for wildlife. So it connects different habitats, it expands the range that species can live, migratory patterns that they have. And ultimately, this is supporting, uh, I like how he's going to sit off camera. Ultimately, this supports wildlife near or next to, adjacent to urban environments. So, can you? I have snackies. No, that's not how we do this. Watch.
Okay, sorry, I was trying to get the recording set up as well in tandem with the stream, only to find out that there isn't enough
Oh,
space in the hard drive to record.
beans.
So
Oh no.
I am in the process of like
Good.
juggling things around and making sure that, the stream and my computer doesn't like hard lock because it runs out of space.
Explode.
Yeah.
You want beans? Are you just happy because you got hot dogs, bud? There were hot dogs to be had, so. And when we're live, when we're streaming, when we're doing stuff like this, uh, not 100% of my focus is on him. So he kind of gets away with being lax in his, oh, thank you. That's gross. Thank you. You can't pull the hair off my face, but I appreciate it. I think he appreciates that I'm more generous with my hot dog giving. Oh, am I getting the spot?
Oh, right there.
Getting it right there.
God, the face he is pulling.
I know.
Such a
So
good
yeah,
boy.
I'm excited to talk about wildlife corridors. I am originally from California, and the world's largest wildlife corridor is actually being built there in Agora Hills right now, courtesy of the Annenberg Foundation. I am really excited for it. It should be completed in 2026. Yeah, I would love to talk about why we need them, why they're important, um, and the risks, or not risks, but the benefits that we have having wildlife corridor areas. So, oh, and the voice in the sky is Paul. So
Hi.
I probably should have introed you before, but but
Well, now is as good a time as any. I am still in the process of trying to. I'm gonna have to sacrifice a video,
a
uh,
video.
a video of one of our recordings from some point in time,
All
if we
right,
want to be able to record that one.
just do one of the first ones. Absolutely not. Nope.
Okay.
Sir, sit. Thank you. Can you watch?
And there goes
Watch.
60 gigabytes. Done.
No, I like that, but not quite. I want you to watch. All right.
Okay,
Talk.
so
This
you
one
are
right here.
talking about the
No, you smell hot dog. There's no hot dog. Though. Joke's on you.
the Trans Canada.
Gross. Watch. You were talking about Trans Canada. Are you talking
Sorry.
about the Yukon, Yellowstone to Yukon?
Yeah, sorry, I was trying to figure out what it is you were talking about a second ago. My mind was like split in two halves, trying to troubleshoot at the same time.
Watch. Watch. No, I was talking about the one out in California.
Okay.
So, but there are several that I think we're going to talk about today. Here, you want this? I don't want to hold it. You just get free food. Yeah, because you're a good boy. Yeah, so I guess take it away, Paul. I'm going to let you start the conversation.
Okay.
While I pet this furry animal.
This magnificent species.
I mean, they are. I think this is one of the reasons that the Yellowstone to Yukon Foundation is trying, or not, is it a foundation? Yellowstone to Yukon Initiative Project. Basically, they're trying to create wildlife corridors and underpassages and overpasses for wildlife all the way from Yellowstone all the way up to Canada and Yukon. And part of that territory, or the majority of that territory, is where we see wolves.
Yeah.
Not quite like you, but similar to you.
There's here. I will link this. I believe this is it.
Oh, disagree, Dobby.
Here we go.
So, for those of you who have dogs that are outside this time of year, I'm sure you were familiar with SWAT, or like flies off for their ears. And Tibby got his treatment this morning and then wanted to promptly rub it all over me. So
Lovely.
yeah, I just gotta share that with you. So he's gonna be extra, just extra.
No, look at him.
He hates it. So as soon as you put it on, he will rub against fences, grass, gravel, any of the trees, just to try to get it off. It's a challenge. But when it's on Wyatt's ears, he tries to chew it, which is problematic in a multitude of ways. So you put it on her and it lasts like 2 seconds before it's gone. I have weirdos for animals.
Okay, so I'm just gonna get started. I'm gonna get started with a definition of what a wildlife corridor actually is.
Yeah, so I went over that just a little bit. Wildlife corridor.
Oh no, you've cut out. No. Oh, you're back.
Yay! So basically, a wildlife corridor is a bridge between two habitats, and that could be across a busy roadway or street. And sometimes it can be an underpass going like a tunnel underneath a busy area. Sometimes it's an overpass, sometimes it's a bridge, but it connects two different habitats. And the reason that it does that is it protects migratory corridors, and it helps kind of prevent human and wildlife interactions. When I say interactions, that's basically we're trying to avoid hitting animals with our cars in urban areas.
That's really the main source of mortality for these animals is vehicular death. It isn't that you were walking along and accidentally killed one, right? Like it's always almost exclusively through vehicle interaction.
It is. So in really dense urban environments that are adjacent to large tracts of wildlands or large habitats for these animals, and it can be any animal. Like you could be next to a wetland area, you could be next to a temperate forest. It is not specific to one type of ecosystem or biome, but it just so happens to be what your urban environment is next to. But each biome, each ecosystem hosts a ton of different animals, from snakes and frogs and turtles, all the way up to wolves and elk and grizzly bears and deer.
Yep.
So we are currently here in Indiana. I travel quite a bit across the state now, and it is amazing how many dead deer I see on the road. I don't think I can. So from here in Indianapolis to Chicago, which I'm up there maybe every month, there is always at least 1 to 2 dead deer on the road on my way up. So at least. So we see that quite a bit. We do not, to my knowledge, have any wildlife corridors here in this state. And I'm only driving one roadway. So I'm sure there are plenty more that I just do not see.
Oh, for sure. Those are the ones that are just not, collected yet. Um, so what's really cool about the wildlife corridors is um the studies that have been done and how effective they are. Like,
Yeah.
my word, some of
So
these numbers.
yeah, so there's a ton of different studies out there in different places across the nation, different places across the world. Um, some are inconclusive as to the effectiveness, um, and that's largely due to the number of people and man hours that you have to dedicate to counting wildlife that has been hit, and you have to have sufficient data prior to do a lot of comparisons. So there's still a lot that we're looking at, but some of the studies that we're familiar with, and I'm specifically thinking of the wildlife corridor up in Banff in Canada. So in Banff National Park, there they have wildlife corridors, overpasses, underpasses, bridges, all throughout that park. And I believe it has reduced the number of collisions between vehicles and deer and elk by over 96%.
Yes, specifically for deer and elk, 96%
That's
reduction.
crazy.
Like,
So,
madness. I can't believe that number. That's
yeah, and for the rest of the species up there, I believe it's like 80%, give or take.
yeah, for every other for of the other species, yeah, it's reduced wildlife vehicular collisions by more than 80%.
I've lost Tibby. He has decided to leave us, so I'm gonna sit. um, so yeah. Um, I think those are crazy numbers. Oh, hey, bud. You joining me again? Is it because I sat in a different place and you want food? You have to eat a little bit. This is hang time. Okay? This is what. Oh, thank you. That's gross. You itchy? No? You got itches? Oh, okay. Oh,
So,
the itches.
Banff National Park being home to some of the most famous wildlife corridors in the world, and I believe the yeah, it allows the wildlife to cross the Trans-Canada Highway safely.
Yeah. Yeah, like that's what these corridors are designed for, right? Like I said. Um, and I tend to see more wildlife corridors in more densely populated areas across the globe. Um, and it feels like the United States is kind of just catching up with that, even though we have like huge urban environments and urban sprawl. So, is this poop that I'm picking out of your fur? Pretty sure it's poop. Um, so we're starting to see the U.S. kind of. Oh, thank you. I'm talking. Yep, that was a tongue in my mouth. Thank you, bud. We're starting to see the U.S. kind of catch up. Like I said a little bit earlier, the Annenberg Foundation is building the world's largest wildlife corridor in California. Construction should be completed in 2026. And from the plans that they have shared, it looks amazing. Um, so I'm really excited to see um, how that comes about and what we see there. What are you looking at? You're making me worried. Okay. So, are you still with me, Paul?
I am. I'm looking up the Wallace-Annenberg Wildlife Crossing.
You should link that in chat.
I am going to, right there.
Thank you. Um, uh-oh. Oh. Did I get it, bud?
This link doesn't really have all that much in the way of projections on what's going on there, but I'm sure it links to more stuff to do with it. Ooh. Yeah, this looks really cool.
Right?
Yeah.
So, but I mean, there's been some debate over how effective wildlife corridors can be. Like I said, a lot of the data just isn't there, or how cost effective it is. Uh, because every time, hi, no, it's not going to happen, but thank you. He is being so affectionate today. You still got flies on you, bud.
You're
Uh-oh.
saying that the cost of these corridors.
Yeah, so I believe in the state of New York right now, they're trying to pass some, or have their governor sign a, and I
You're
believe,
cutting.
and uh-oh, am I cutting out?
Yeah.
Does this work?
Yes, it's
Am I
better.
okay?
You're
Okay.
okay now.
So I believe in New York there was a bill, and I cannot remember the name of it, so forgive me, but it is basically a wildlife corridor act that has passed assembly, and I believe it was a bipartisan, or it was bipartisan support. So we're waiting on the governor there in New York to sign and make this into law. But I believe they spend upwards of 63 million,
Yeah,
maybe.
so the Wildlife Crossings Act for New York State did pass. They passed with bipartisan support. Um,
Ah.
yeah,
So I think
I linked that. I think this is the
cool.
one. Yeah.
Well, I don't know 'cause I'm not there. But yeah, so they passed with bipartisan support, which I thought was really, really cool. Um, New York, in that area, I believe, spends like $63 million a year in uh, like the aftermath of wildlife and vehicle collisions. And I believe nationwide it's upwards of like $8 billion.
Yep,
So
8 billion in related. It's related damages, but also medical costs are folded in
they're
there as
factored
well.
in.
Yeah.
Okay, so sitting on the ground is hurting. So not as comfy as I need it to be. Hi, buddy. Do you want snackies? You don't need to do anything to earn snackies. You need to be respectful of the space bubble. Are you being super respectful?
I do like so the um Shapiro, the
Thank you.
center. I believe it's the center. Yes. Sorry, not Ben Shapiro. Brian Shapiro.
What are we talking about?
Sorry,
You were like,
I'm getting my politics confused with the directors for the Humane Society.
oh my god.
Yeah, no, don't mind me. So the director for the Humane Society, his name is Brian Shapiro, and I do like that he was saying that there are many different ways to create proper wildlife crossings, and that there's not a single formula. Um,
Yeah,
that
which I go ahead.
I wholeheartedly agree that
Hmm.
the the wildlife crossing itself needs to conform to the natural surroundings in which these animals would normally try and traverse those areas.
Yeah, I
But that
think
can be
that's
ungodly expensive.
yeah, depending on the area and whatnot. I know we were talking like off camera a little bit earlier, and we were talking about um, I can't remember the project now, but there was construction being done, and it was a requirement that, during construction, they're also building a wildlife corridor. So it was necessary construction that was needed to happen. So they're like, we're just going to toss in a wildlife corridor because why not? But that way the cost gets kind of folded in with
Yeah,
another project. So they're combining costs and then still doing things to benefit wildlife, to benefit the area, and increase biodiversity, which is really cool. And that's why we are so supportive of wildlife corridors in general. That is one of the many, many benefits that we see in wildlife corridors is the increase of biodiversity because you're connecting these habitats, because you're connecting these ecosystems and protecting migratory corridors or migratory pathways. We are seeing just straight up a reduction in loss that is protecting the biodiversity and the ecosystem's natural habitat without, human interference. And by human interference, I mean hitting them with our cars again.
yeah. There's a whole lot to it. I feel like
JB,
having these
what are you doing?
corridors exist in a way that allows for isolated ecosystems to cross like genetically,
Here.
like create that diversity um is hugely important.
Sorry.
Um okay. Oh,
What are we doing? You want, thank you for that. You can get rewarded for that. I didn't ask for it, but thank you.
that was wholly unexpected, and I think I muted both our microphones out of shock. So
I
we
mean,
didn't get an explanation as to what the hell just happened.
oh, okay. So for those of you unaware, what happened where there were lots of dogs barking in the background, and those are our domestic friends that we have. um, Thank you, bud. You want more snackies? I think you deserve more snackies, my friend. Can we sit?
Okay, so I'm just gonna go fire ahead, and I'm gonna ask you a couple of
Yeah.
probing questions about this whole topic, and you can feed Tibby some hot dogs in the meantime.
I'm not even making him earn them. I'm just giving him snackies because I love him. Because you're a good baby. You're a good boy. But
Okay,
go ahead.
so
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Now you smell
we've
it.
already covered it a little bit, but I just want to make sure we cover everything regarding the benefits for wildlife, for urban wildlife corridors. What can you see as the benefits that the wildlife in these urban areas get from having those corridors?
So I touched on this a little bit before. Oftentimes, these wildlife corridors are put in places that are relevant to migration patterns for specific species. So what we see are, a lot of, say, a lot of frogs crossing a road in a wetlands habitat. And, if you're my age or older, this should bring up visions of Frogger. Um, so,
Yeah, yeah.
but that's basically it. You have these animals that are trying to cross certain areas, go from one habitat to another, and migrate. And what we see are, catastrophic results where they come into contact with, human conflict. Again, being smushed by cars. There's no like nice way to say that.
There really
So
is, and it's awful.
you can't see it, but Tibby is going to his target. So we have a target set up here. We are working with him a little bit earlier. Thank you, bud. You get a payout because you're a good boy. So we have target training. We do some fun stuff just with cooperative care work. I know this is a tangent and kind of a side note, but he was asking for, a reward or some kind of payout because he was touching his target. He kept touching it and looking over here like, "Whoa, are you gonna fix it?" I did fix it. I did. No, I don't have any more.
I do love how quickly he managed to pick up that target training, where now he just boops it and expects a hot dog to appear.
Yeah. I don't think I've done target training with Tibby since he was a pup. So I was like, I don't know if he's actually going to remember what I'm asking for here because normally we don't have a whole lot of items when we're training our animals. It's lots of cues and we use our body. So if I need his paw on something and I'm asking him to normally put it on the knee, or if I need him to touch somewhere, he responds to the hand, or if I need him to go stand somewhere, he responds to a verbal cue and a point like mark. So we started bringing target training back and doing the basics with Wyatt for a number of reasons. But now he's just like, oh shit, I remember this. And now he's consistently asking for snacky treats, and I can't say no because he's showing me he wants to work and do a thing. Watch. Watch. Okay, sorry. Went on a tangent because I saw him and he was here. You want just eat those. But rolling everything back over to wildlife corridors. So there's the migratory aspect, right? And then there's just connecting habitats. So, for instance, a busy highway or a freeway running through the middle of a habitat kind of separates those places. So it allows these animals to travel back and forth. And added bonus benefit is because of that, there's an increased genetic viability. So there's reduction in inbreeding, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, and that builds resilience for the species to
Yeah,
diseases and environmental changes because if something happens in one area, they can move through the corridor to the other area.
yeah,
Um, like even just for like a quick example off the top of my head, something like a California wildfire, like
absolutely.
that right there, driving animals towards highways that they would then need to traverse without a corridor there, that becomes a suicide run.
It absolutely does. Um, are you parking out so I can scratch your thigh? Thank you. So yeah, so those are just some of the things off the top of my head that are just of an animal benefit. So the benefit to the species is, increased genetic viability, increased habitat space, um, protection
It,
of their migratory patterns.
yep,
And
and migratory not just for birds, but like larger mammals that have a really large
yep,
area that they
yep,
they naturally must inhabit to maintain their natural behaviors and life cycles are often cut short by human-made borders in the form of like roads and highways and things.
yeah. So that's just the animal benefit. And then there's a number of benefits to people, right? Um,
The other animal.
yeah, the animal that is us.
Yeah.
So we see first and foremost a reduction in vehicular collisions. So I don't know if any of you have ever hit an animal crossing the road, but it's awful and I do not recommend. 0 out of 10. So seeing that, right, like having to go through that experience and then the costs associated with um, either fixing your vehicle or any medical costs that you incur because of it. It's not a great time.
Nobody wants that.
No, nobody wants that at all. Um, so, oh my God. All right, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Making sure.
Okay.
Uh, my 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 earbuds made some weird sounds and I wasn't sure what was happening.
No, all good on this
Um,
end. As far as I
all
can
right,
tell, I have no idea if
cool.
people can actually hear.
Well,
Um,
I'm talking through a different mic, so yeah, they can hear me. It's just a matter of can I hear you?
okay.
So anyway, um, so yeah, making sure that we don't get in collisions with animals is, obviously one of the benefits to wildlife corridors. And like I said earlier, I'm all for it because of the protection and increase in biodiversity that we provide or that happens because we're providing this crossing for these animals. And
Yep.
that's ultimately something that is why we exist. That is why we do what we do, is to talk about the rising biodiversity crisis and making sure that folks are aware of how important biodiversity is in every ecosystem. So, by installing these wildlife corridors in their many different shapes and forms, we are taking a step towards, reducing that biodiversity crisis, even if by a fraction.
Yes. And increasing like the biodiversity of these environments enhances the quality of life for the people that live in them. It promotes those healthy ecosystems and we reap benefits from it. Like we there's an uptick in pollinators.
Mm-hmm.
The water we drink from the ground is purified more naturally, and there's you know having that ecosystem and that environment be healthier in some cases can also improve and help with climate regulation.
That is very correct.
So
Uh-oh. Oh,
biodiversity is a great benefit. There's also some educational opportunities available. Oh my goodness.
getting distracted by it. Are you an educational opportunity? He says, just sketch me. Well, tell us a little bit about the educational opportunities.
Well, so corridors offer a unique opportunity for urban residents, because you're living in an urban environment.
It's the
So
myth
you're,
jungle.
let's say you're in the middle of either Los Angeles or New York or even like the center of Chicago, right? Your interaction with wildlife and nature in general is going to be very limited. It's going to require some travel generally. Um, but that doesn't mean there isn't wildlife within that area.
Good
And
boy.
the
You guys,
corridors,
time out for like 2 seconds. What you guys couldn't see that Tibby saw was a spider egg sac like willowing in the wind here and dropping down. And I was having a momentary panic attack of, please, please no. It's like nightmare fuel for me. And Tibby saw it and then promptly ate it.
okay, so now Tibby is a wolf with a mouthful of spiders. Gotcha.
Uh, Close enough. Yeah,
That's
close
that's
enough.
great.
Good job, bud. I'm so proud of you. You good boy. Take out treats for him. Sorry, go ahead. Yes, you were talking about the educational opportunities because we get to see uh, these animals in real time. We're benefited by our water being filtered much more naturally. And continue.
So for educational stuff, the corridors can offer up unique opportunities for the residents and urban environments to engage with nature, to learn about like the local wildlife in their area, and to foster up a sense of like that like stewardship. Like they're a part of the environment. They're a part, like they are building up the area that they're in to promote wildlife to live there and coexist. And schools and community groups, they can use the wildlife corridors for educational programs,
Yeah,
um,
and
which is awesome.
well, and then along those same lines, it's just a nicer feeling to live in that kind of space, and the decompression and stress relief about just kind of uh, touching grass, like stepping out
Literally
of
touching grass.
literally touching grass, and stepping away from a more urban environment and just kind of reconnecting with nature. Um, and I'm not saying that every wildlife underpass, like you're not gonna walk in a tunnel halfway in water just to get across the other side. That's maybe not the most enriching experience for you, but a lot of the wildlife corridors that do exist are very human friendly, you know?
Yeah, there's the um. Oh my God, my brain is fried. 1 second.
Space bubble, please. Watch. No, space bubble, please. That's a sit, not a space bubble. That's a pod, not a space bubble. You can have it. Here. Ready? All right, go ahead.
Yeah. So there is a project. So we were talking about a lot of
It's okay.
these are not human friendly, and I'm sure there's a better way of putting it, but there are cases that are in like the one that's in New York, like in New York City. I believe it's called oh my God, I'm blanking on the
Up, up.
name.
Mark. I
It's
I can't help you.
that high rail.
Does it? Okay.
Oh, here we are. It's called the High Line. Right. Here we are. Sorry, I was having such a hard time remembering what it was called, but it's a great example of a it's essentially a nature walk, and it's repurposing old elevated railway lines that become a natural habitat for a lot of urban wildlife that you would just normally those things would just be abandoned or knocked down, but they've actually repurposed them not only into a like a crossing for wildlife, but also an art space, an exhibition area,
Okay.
which I think's really cool. I think it's benefits both the wildlife and people at the same time.
It is very cool. That's why we're here talking about it. No, might even
Um,
hot dogs for you to find, bud.
and those, the green spaces and the natural environments really
One
do
more.
improve your
They're over
mental
there.
health and well-being. There's nothing quite like managing to get yourself out into nature after you've been stuck surrounded by giant buildings all day.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I love Chicago. Okay,
True, true, true,
that's
true.
my that's my happy heart space. But I also love just being out on a walk uh, with nothing but nature sounds and not ones that are like in my earbuds, like real nature.
Yeah.
Uh, it's actually what we're gonna do later on this afternoon is kind of go disconnect for the afternoon and just kind of hang in a natural environment because it's been a busy week.
Yeah, that's gonna be nice. Go sit out by the lake.
Do you want this stick? No? Okay.
And a more, um, I guess, brass tacks benefit for humans is also that places that look nicer generally sell for more, and
Yeah,
you're gonna get higher property values for areas that are beautified, you know?
absolutely.
That's definitely a more practical hard line reason for beautifying an area if ever there was a like a necessary component to it to make like businesses want to um act upon it. So benefits aside, um there's the practical aspect of actually applying these wants and needs for corridors. So how do you think how can urban planning and policy be adjusted to better support the development of the corridors?
So, one of the biggest ways I think that we should be kind of encouraging or wildlife corridors in urban areas is ensuring that we're requiring green planning in certain spaces.
Yep.
I think that is a policy that needs to be further developed and encouraged, especially in large urban areas. Um, we really are missing that natural aspect, and I think that having that encouragement in terms of policy helps create just nicer space in general, and is more environmental friendly. So that is one of the major things that I would really love to see happen. Um, and then making making evaluations a requirement. Like, did you find it, bud?
Oh, he did.
He's missing one. I can see it. He's just. Let's see if he'll go for the fake out. Did he? Go ahead. It's over there. No, I don't have it. It's over there. It's not. I don't have it. Is your nose not working today? What happened to you? All right.
So just as an example of city planning that includes integrating wildlife corridors. Singapore have done an amazing job of this. The government implemented a city and a garden concept where urban planning actively incorporates green spaces and wildlife corridors into their infrastructure, including like green roofs, vertical gardens. They have connected park systems that allow wildlife to like meander through the city without major disruptions.
That's
Um,
awesome.
which I think is like I want more of that. I want to be able to go sit and like be in a city and have, you know, oh, there's like a row of hedgehogs on this like walking along on a little, grass pathway or something.
Did you find it?
Um,
Good boy. Now, how
I
do you
th
say?
it's almost like a very utopian feel, right? Like that's having those like it almost seems unreal to imagine a city in which you can have it be a built up urban environment that also contains a large amount of um, wildlife and greenery right alongside, all intermingled, but also um, intelligently connected together so that they're not isolated parks. Like,
Yeah.
that's
I
really cool.
mean, but I also think that's why it should be kind of a requirement when you're doing these uh, new builds or new projects, because it requires you to be thoughtful of more than just what satisfies a human population, right?
Yep.
It's requiring you to make sure that you are giving some thought to the nature that you live in,
Yep.
because even though we're in an urban environment, nature is all around us, and sometimes I think we forget that. What are you doing?
I like the example of the Nature Links program in Melbourne, where they are contracted out by the government or the local councils to restore damaged ecosystems due to development. Um, but they work in tandem with the people there that are doing the construction work so that they're rebuilding the area back up to its natural state. They're like rewilding um, and protecting the vegetation while ensuring that the work runs smoothly and that they're not getting in the way. Because, like, I can see that being really hard to pull off if you're
Mm-hmm.
in the middle of like a massive development process. So in this example, it's uh, a a place called Lang Warren in Australia, and they were building a hospital extension, and they have to try and rebuild the natural environment around this hospital extension in order to maintain that vegetation. And they've done a bunch of stuff. There are businesses like this all over the world, but it never feels like there's enough. Especially, you'll find here a lot of the times that when developments happen, what do? They throw down sod and a bunch of
Invasive species.
like sawdust. They'll put up those nasty ass smelling trees just because they look pretty that are really invasive.
Yeah, so here in Indiana, there's an invasive species that gets used all the time when subdivisions go up. Uh, and we truly, because we live here, we're like, why is this happening? Like, this is an invasive species, and and when they flower in the spring, they smell awful. So, um, not only are contractors here allowed to plant an invasive species, but they do it because it's cheap, they look good, and there's no care to how that really affects the environment, which is
Yeah,
kind of appalling.
it's legitimate fast food for your eyes. Like they they
That's a
they
good
don't
term. I like that term.
like
fast food for your eyes.
they're Bradford pears.
Yeah.
You must learn to dislike the Bradford pear. There are much better trees to be planting than the Bradford pear. Um, that's a whole
And it
other.
is a real pretty tree, but it's invasive and should not be here. And we really shouldn't be allowing new developments to be constructed with invasive species. That's insane. But
Yeah,
that is the state that we live in. And a mindset of many, many different people is just like, oh, well, it's pretty, so it doesn't matter. But it really does. But that's a whole other tangent. Sorry.
yeah, yeah. I'll get off my my little step stool that I have for the Bradford pear.
How are we on time?
We have
Because
like
today,
10 minutes left.
okay, cool. Because today is actually a day where, like, on the dot, we gotta
Yeah.
get out.
Let's rapid fire some stuff then, I guess.
All right, give it to me.
All
Where
right.
did my?
So we
Yeah, you're not gonna be able to get through the fence, bud. You have
what's
to
he
go
trying to do?
around. He was walking this way, so I asked him to recall,
Oh, okay, okay.
and he was coming up to the fence line, and I was like, buddy, good boy. What a good hearer. Good job. Good job.
All right, we're just gonna let's see.
Thank you, buddy. Thank you, buddy.
I'm gonna ask you. This one sounds we may have already covered, but let's go over it again. So what role can local communities play in creating and maintaining an urban wildlife corridor?
Oh man. Okay, so that is there's a lot. Um, so one of my favorite things that I really like to encourage folks to do in general is support rewilding efforts in your community. And that can lead to, supporting rewilding efforts or rewilding your yard or school or public spaces, and firsthand showing people the benefit of what this is like, what this brings to the community. And I think it's a good first step into what's next, right? Like maybe trying to establish some of these corridors or establish groups to support these corridors. We're supporting groups who already are trying to make that happen. And I want to say it's the Grand Teton Foundation. And they're trying to purchase a tract of land referred to as the Kelly parcel. And it's like 600 and something, I want to say 640 acres of land that's really important in migratory patterns. And they want to utilize it as a corridor. And they need to raise funds to make that happen.
Yes,
but
sure.
But that comes down to, you and I. What can we do to support these efforts? And there are foundations that are already working towards doing that. Like I said, Grand Teton is one of them that is actively fundraising. Paul, if you want to link that into the chat, that'd be awesome.
Already done.
Sweet. And then, there are other foundations and organizations that are also working. So the Yellowstone to Yukon project is one. And then the Annenberg Foundation, who's currently building what will be the world's largest wildlife corridor out in California. So these are all places that they're a good start to find out more, to support what's already in existence. I wasn't sure if we were talking about like smaller community projects that could be done, but
Both.
that's
Both.
okay.
Well, I feel like the larger government ones, they can promote like a splintering of smaller versions that people can do on a community level and even in their backyard like they do in Oregon.
Yep. Oh, I forgot. It's like a backyard rewilding project
Yeah.
you could do in Oregon. And it's super cool. It's something that we actually wanted to do in our front yard is rewild.
Yeah.
But because we live in an urban area, sometimes the legislation is not so friendly when it comes to how your yard has to look or even how tall your grass can get. So I think trying to argue that there are some incredible benefits to rewilding, and specifically natural landscapes or natural species that are not invasive, that are native to your state or to your area. I think it's really important that we start pushing back in our city councils, pushing back in state legislature, because we want to see that kind of support for rewilding efforts and natural growth.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, yeah, just to roll back a second, it's called the program in Oregon in Portland. It's called
It's
the Backyard Habitat Certification Program. Um, and I think this is awesome because it offers incentives and recognition to homeowners who create wildlife-friendly gardens, contributing to that broader network of urban wildlife corridors. By having it be, it allows those wildlife corridors to creep into people's private land. They invite that
Yep.
in. And you know, the barriers are very hard lines for us, but not for the animals. So if we're able to help them, intermingle in a much wider area by offering up our private land for them to also traverse, all the better, I say.
I absolutely agree.
And I have here a checklist. It's a PDF, so you can get an idea of the kinds of things that you can check off. And it's actually a fantastic little PDF because it lets you it shows you like the requirements for not only like all the different animals that you could potentially serve, both in terms of like food and water, but also the things that you could build, like cover and places for them to raise their young.
Bat houses.
Right? Like it's
Uh,
really, really cool.
I was actually working, I was doing a certification for interpretation. And one of the guys in my class, he was actually really excited because he works with restoring wood duck populations.
Oh,
Uh,
cool.
and some of the projects that he works with and programs that he works with encourage folks to come out and build wood duck houses in wetland areas. So it's pretty cool. And then if you're adjacent to a wetland area or a marshy area, it shows you how you could do this at home, if you have the acreage to do it. So it was really cool, a really interesting project.
Yeah.
But yes, anyway,
No, I think
do I
that's
have?
really cool. Sorry, go on.
I was gonna say, do you have more rapid fire questions? Are we good?
Um, I mean, yeah, I mean, we could probably go on for another half an hour on this topic, but I
Really
think
could.
we are super strapped for time, which
All
is
right.
unfortunate because this is definitely a topic that I've enjoyed researching. It's a topic that I've enjoyed talking to you about.
Yeah, this
Um,
is awesome. I love it. I think that we should, this is one of just many, many ways that we in urban environments get to reconnect with nature and get to support the natural ecosystems around us. Um, so I highly encourage folks to go check out the linked foundations that we have because they are actively out there doing the work,
yep,
supporting wildlife corridors, um, and making the effort in their communities, which I think is incredibly important. So,
absolutely. They just one last thing before we properly wrap up.
okay.
Um, one of the ways that I really I like knowing that this is happening, and that
Here.
is that people are volunteering their time in order to collect data for furthering change. So you'll
Okay.
get community members
This
that
one
can
right there.
participate in citizen science programs to monitor wildlife
Yeah.
that use the corridors, or you'll get citizen science programs for areas that lack a corridor, and they will have the unfortunate job of donating their time to count roadkill in certain hotspot areas that
Yeah.
can then be submitted to drive forward the point that a corridor must be built here for these animals.
Yeah, there's a lot of like boots on the ground that needs to happen for data collection and area monitoring to present this idea and say like, hey, this would be a really effective use of our cash flow. This would be a really effective thing to have happen in this community. Um, and that is, it is daunting, you know, making sure that you have enough bodies to collect that data.
Yeah,
So yeah, I love it. I think that is definitely an important aspect of um, trying to get some of these initiatives off the ground is the citizen science portion of it because research costs a lot of money. Um, Training, field gear, all of that stuff, it costs a lot of money. And when you have people in the community that are willing to do the work, that are willing to put in their time, the hours necessary, that makes a huge difference.
yep, absolutely
Titty,
does.
here.
There's a lot of folding in multiple disciplines in there.
I
Um,
know, I didn't. I'm sorry.
like having the volunteers um get like the youth involved or scouting activities and school projects.
Yep,
Um, there's so much that can be done there. And I feel it's incredibly untapped.
it is. But there are so many organizations that are working on it, you know, little by little.
Yeah,
Um, so there is a project that is, and I think this is where it's really also important to get involved with your local schools when you do this kind of work because that is the future generation, right? You want to show them
yep,
how important all this is. That's the future of our species. So um, there's a program that we're launching for Wolf Park actually later on this month.
oh,
Um, yeah, it's a Go Wild program where part of what we do is create a rewild space in the school. So I thought that was really, really cool and innovative. And I wish I could take credit for that, but I cannot.
oh,
Um, but if like I will shout out our former executive director Kara and our current operations and interpretation director Kimber. They're doing really good things with this, and having that rewilding aspect in a school I think is a daily reminder of how important this is. So hopefully this is our first year doing it at Wolf Park, and hopefully this pilot shows us how successful this program can be and we can continue to grow and expand throughout the state,
yep,
and hopefully free, you know, open source all of that information so that other organizations and other areas across the nation can do this. So all right, I'm gonna say that's a wrap for me for the day
all right.
because
We gotta go. We gotta go.
we do. Tibby,
All right.
here,
Well,
you
thank you for
want
watching,
this?
everyone, and we will
Okay,
catch you
we'll be back in a couple of weeks.
a couple of weeks. Yep.
And we're going to be talking about relisting wolves and why that's important. So stay tuned. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you are watching this as a recording, thank you for your support. And we'll be back later.
All right.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.